Hi, and welcome to episode 47 of the Austin Downbeat. We survived South by Southwest. I'm Kat, your host, still standing, and I hope you all are too. Before I hit the rundown, I just want to say congratulations and wow, what a South by it was. South by is a little crazy, very different than ACL, obviously, because it's taking place all over the city, and so it can get a little overwhelming. And also just hard to like get to all the different shows that you want to see. So I know that all my musician friends are taking a big sigh and deep breath, but as you will see in the rundown, the music just doesn't stop, folks. So if you live here in Austin, you're lucky to do that. If you're not, then come to town anytime. You will always see some good music. So let's hit the rundown. This covers March 21st, happy spring, to March 27th. Let's go. Emily Shirley is at Meanwhile Brewing on the 21st. That's today, Tuesday. Rosie Flores is at the Continental Club Gallery. Ruthie Kraft is at the Saxon Pub. On the 22nd, Eric Betancourt and David Jimenez are doing a house concert on the front lawn on, I think it's Bull Creek Road. So if you go to either of their social media, the address is there. You can also go to Bands in Town. It's up there as well. And you can get the address of the residents of that house concert. Those are always kind of my favorite, to be honest. I love a good house concert. Also on the 22nd, Barbara Nesbitt is at New World Deli. On the 23rd, you have Love and Chaos at Antone's. Also, Joan Osborne is playing at the O4 Center. On the 24th, you have Mandy Rowden at Beerberg Brewing. Say that 3 times fast. Also, you have Folk Uke at Sam's Town Point. I love that place. Skyrocket is playing at 310 ACL. Shout out to Johnny. And Cece, she's been on very recently. She's doing an intimate gig at the Cathedral. On the 25th, we have Allie Holder, who's playing at Fisher Dance Hall. Tony Camel is at the Purple Barn. Beaver Nelson is at the Continental Club Gallery. And Madame Radar is at the Lucky Rabbit. And last but not least, on the 27th, that's next Monday, you have your residencies. Brian Wolf is at the Driscoll. Bob Schneider is at the Saxon Pub. And you have Monday Night Supper Club at the El Mercado South. All right, that does it for our rundown. And as usual, follow the musicians and bands that you love, check out their schedules, go to their shows, buy their merch, download their songs on Bandcamp so they make some money, and just love and support all around. My guest for you today is Winston Cook, singer, songwriter, guitarist, all around sweet, sweet kid. I call him a kid because I feel like I'm a lot older than him. I love this conversation because he is 5 years into his journey of being a musician, and he is very gracious with his vulnerability and kind of peeling back of what the journey is like for him right now and what's hard and what's fun and kind of I think he said something that was really cool. He said, in a way, he kind of feels more lost than ever. And I think that there's something really beautiful about kind of just surrendering to being there in that space. And he sure does that. If you go to Spotify or wherever you stream his music, my favorite song of his is called Celine. Really showcases his voice and the way he sings, and just is very unique. I really dig his sound. Plus, he's just a sweetheart. He's playing at the O4 Center on May 12th. So put that in your calendars. And without further ado, introduce to you Winston Cook. Winston Cook, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Kat.
Of course, of course. I don't know much about you. I'm genuinely curious. I've listened to your music. I dig it. I like what you're
Awesome.
doing, but I have lots of questions.
Yeah.
First, how was your day?
My day was great. It's pretty chill, just a lot of practicing. And yeah, I do that pretty much every day. It's just a lot of playing. all the time. So it's very rewarding. But yeah, my day was pretty. It was just a typical Wednesday, I guess.
Yeah. What walk us through just kind of, I mean, some musicians have day jobs and some don't. And so like what's a typical day like for you?
I work remotely, so it's pretty flexible with traveling for gigs and things like that.
Yeah.
Gives me time to practice as well when I'm not working. So that's I mean that's basically a standard day. Sometimes it involves songwriting. Sometimes it involves kind of just drilling the same things over and over again on the guitar. And
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, really every day is kind of whatever I want to make it to be when it comes to music. And so I try to really work on that every day and to really try to hone in on my craft a little bit. But yeah, that's usually a typical day, and then weekends are hopefully filled with gigs and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, having all that freedom and having, I know for me, I kind of, I'm not a musician, but I know that there's a part of me that kind of now know about myself this at this age. Like I do need some discipline. I do need something to kind of anchor to. I need a little bit of structure, not a ton.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Are you just naturally kind of like stay on track kind of guy? Or do you have to like, I mean, how do you organize yourself? I don't think I could just be like, oh yeah, I'll do whatever I want today.
I mean, I really, it's not super organized to be honest with you. I think that being a musician and constantly wanting to I always have melodies or lyrics going through my head a lot, and so it's not organized in a lot of ways, but I think the idea that I just need to put that on paper or put it on the guitar or something kind of keeps me going. And it's, I mean, it's all over the place. I don't necessarily sit down and work on one song per se. I kind of just go with whatever I'm thinking about at the moment. So it's a little bit of controlled chaos, I guess, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of just kind of. I mean, as a musician, I need to express um, whatever I'm thinking about. It's just this constant stream of thoughts that I'm trying to sift through and put on paper and try to make a song out of. And that's where my is at pretty much all the time until I go to bed. So
Let's talk a little bit about that because
yeah.
that's not uncommon, obviously, for creators and for people to kind of always have the faucet sort of
Right.
running, right? For you,
Yeah.
where does that come from? Why do you think you have that? What ultimately sort of where's that coming from for you? And do you enjoy that about yourself? Do you enjoy the fact that your sort of faucet is always on? And what ultimately do you think, is there a theme that you find yourself sort of wanting to say?
Um, well, to answer your first question, I think ADHD is a big part of it. Kind of just always, my head is just all over the place constantly, and it's hard for me to focus on a lot of things aside from music. Music is one of
Mm-hmm.
those things that kind of locks me in, and even within that, obviously, I'm thinking about a million different things at once. So that's what kind of keeps me on track, and what kind of that's kind of where my focus is. Overall, though, as far as the material that I write, a lot of it it's I try to make it as vulnerable as possible. I think I'm all the music that I like, all the artists that I look up to, and the songwriters I love to listen to. I think what strikes me about them is how real they are when they talk about whatever the song is about. It's about things that people can not only relate to, but things I think that are usually very honest and true to themselves. And that's really what I try to express, and that's what I try to find within myself whenever I'm writing music. And I mean, and it kind of comes from, it's kind of an organic process as far as how I write songs and how I explore that. It's not really something that I don't go into a song wanting to write a certain thing. Usually it starts off with, a guitar melody or a lyric that I was thinking of, or maybe just a theme of something in my life that's going on. And I
Mm-hmm.
just try to keep that as vague as possible when I start writing the song. And then from there, I kind of just let the music kind of do its thing. And and listening to other songwriters talk about that process, a lot of them say that you kind of just have to give yourself up to the music and kind of just kind of in a way just kind of let go and just kind of let whatever happens. And I'm a big believer in that in some way. I think that whenever I'm writing a song or whenever I'm trying to explore something musically or whenever I have a vision for how I want a song to go, I think a lot of it's kind of just letting go and seeing what comes out, and I think because it's already there, fundamentally I already know what I kind of want to write about and what I'm feeling, and I think emotion's a big part of it too. Most of the time I go into writing songs with an emotion attached to it, and then I kind of just see where the melody goes or maybe the lyrics and how I can kind of work the emotion into those lyrics at certain points. And that's the most fun for me. And it's fun to think about the possibility of that process. So, the entire process of songwriting for me is exciting. And it's the idea that I kind of know what could happen once I start writing a song that is intriguing and exciting to me, because you never really know where it's going to go. And as for someone like me who is solo and plays solo shows, it's really awesome to kind of work out a song on the acoustic guitar or something like that, just with myself, and then seeing how it kind of transforms into when I take it to studio and record it with a full band. So the whole process is rewarding, and I guess kind of looking forward to that process and knowing that that it's going to be a fun thing to do is really what kind of drives my focus and my motivation when writing songs.
Is it therapeutic for you to get that out? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's a good way to really relieve stress, and also I think I think with anything, if you have tension or something built up, and maybe something's bothering you, or there's something on your mind, just like anything, it always helps to go talk to a friend or something, go talk to somebody who can kind of just hear you out. You can kind of vent, and in a way that is kind of what I do writing songs, because there might not be anyone to talk to, or I might not necessarily want to do that if you're someone like me who likes to kind of keep things to themselves internally. It's a good way to kind of express that and kind of in a way kind of keep it internal, but also express it musically, and it's a little bit of a relief. Yeah, it's definitely
Kind of like a
therapeutic.
Trojan horse, you sort of like sneak in that into
Right.
your song. You make it so beautiful.
Yeah.
But ultimately you're kind of sneaking in like how you feel about something. I like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would imagine that that would be very therapeutic, just to process it out loud, in the most artistic way. Let's go back a little bit and kind of walk me through how you started playing music, and was it kind of a decision just to be a solo guy? I would think that that would be like 10x more vulnerable, 10x harder, probably easier on some facets because it's just you. And I know plenty of musicians that ride that way.
Mhm.
But talk a little bit about like kind of starting this whole thing and being like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And I like the way that I sound, and I feel confident enough to go do that in front of people, which is like mind blowing for me.
Yeah.
Talk us through a little bit about that process and you sort of realizing that this is it.
Yeah, for sure. I started. I took piano lessons as a kid. I think like a lot of people do, and so I didn't really stick with that, but I think it gave me a good fundamental base for knowing how to read music, and also, I mean, that was kind of one of the first times that I really was in a way creating something on my own. And I guess as a child, you might not understand it. I didn't really understand it when that was happening, but I think in some way that really sparked a lot of creativity. And I mean, it was something I enjoyed doing. And so when I got to middle school, I joined the band, the school band. And so for years, I mean, from middle school to high school through college, I played the French horn. So that was my primary instrument. And that gave me a good base for understanding ensembles, understanding how different instruments fit together, how melodies and counter melodies work, and how, songs can be arranged in that way. And it also gave me a good foundation for musicality in general, playing solo competitions and playing in an ensemble, and doing all the different sort of things you do when you're in the band in high school, and in college as well. Playing in those sort of ensembles gave me a good base for that in a classical upbringing type of way. And so I didn't start playing guitar and singing until I was in college. So I was probably about 19 or 20 when I started doing that. And at the time, yeah, it really was just something I just wanted to do. I always wanted to learn how to play guitar. And the thing is, I didn't even really see myself as a singer at all. I actually had to sing in front of people in high school, and it was in a chair test, like for band. So I didn't think I was gonna have to sing, but I did, and it was really really bad. Like it was very bad, and it's very it was pretty humiliating to go through. So for a long time, I didn't think that I didn't consider myself a singer at all. It was just something I just didn't even do or think about. And then once I started playing guitar, and I started diving into one, just how to play guitar, but then also kind of developing, a certain style that I liked based on other influences, other artists that I listened to. And from there, I started writing songs because I figured, if I'm gonna play guitar, I might as well put some words to it. And I've always enjoyed writing. Even from a young age, writing was my favorite subject in school. So, it kind of, in that way, I think wanting to songwrite became natural. Still not even really thinking about singing at that point, just really just wanting to write songs and play them, and play them to the guitar. And then once I started kind of testing out my voice a little bit, I was able to kind of carry a tune. And I think in a lot of ways too, playing the horn and being in the band and early on in my childhood and in my teenage years, I think that kind of gave me an idea of how I wanted to vocalize what I was doing. I've always said that I kind of sing like I'm playing French horn, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just because the French horn, it's a color instrument, so it's not like a directional brass instrument. It's one that really provides color to the entire ensemble. And when you listen to movie scores and things like that, usually the French horns are the ones either playing the really emotional, sad melodies, or they're the ones playing the really heroic things.
Sure.
And I think playing the French horn a lot, and really, I mean, that was my life for years. So I think naturally, I kind of sing with that sort of emotional kind of quality in a way. It's hard to explain, but I draw some parallels with that. But yeah, I mean, it kind of happened organically, and it wasn't something I had planned on doing. But once I put the singing, the playing the guitar, the songwriting together, I did feel like I had something special, and I decided that I just wanted to start playing gigs. I think being in the band early on, playing solo competitions and playing in front of people, I think it was something I was already kind of comfortable with in a lot of ways. That's not to say I wasn't super, super nervous the first time. At my first gigs, actually, I had to have one of my friends who played guitar. I had to have him play with me because I hadn't really learned how to play and sing at the same time and perform it for people. So I just kind of stood up there and sang while he was playing guitar. And
Oh, that's great though.
yeah, so I mean, but once I put everything together, I was pretty gung ho about it, and I was gonna keep doing it. And 5 years later, I'm still doing it. So
I was gonna say, what's the timeline on that? Yeah,
yeah,
so 5 years. Wow.
5 years, yeah.
I will say you're talking to a second chair flute player here. So
Yeah.
I do know that whole world.
Oh yeah,
Although we
that's
didn't have to
competitive.
sing for our chair test. So
I didn't think I was gonna have to either. So
that's
it
so odd. That's so odd.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, the idea behind it, it's a good idea. The idea behind it is that if you can vocalize a note before you start it, like sing it,
Mm,
it'd be the kind of same, it'd be the same as like whistling a tune. You kind of have it in your ear.
sure.
So because I mean, you know that when you started, a note, and when you're playing a brass instrument, you have to buzz your lips into the mouthpiece, and then the mouthpiece goes into the horn, and that amplifies it. So I think the
Yeah.
idea is that if you can vocalize what you're playing and you have it in your ear already, then it kind of helps play it on the instrument a little bit better. That said, I was not understanding that logic when it happened because I was I was terrified for one, and then I sang, so it was so bad. It was just
Oh.
really bad.
Well, it's not bad anymore.
Right.
So
Yeah.
was there any step in that whole journey? You make that whole journey sound really easy and whatever. I mean, has the last 5 years just sort of felt really fairly easy for you, or what are the challenges? Let's talk about the hard stuff. What's
Yeah.
challenging? Because here's the deal. I mean, here's the good news.
Yeah.
You're super talented and you're really like you sound great. I love your voice. I love what you do. Um, and so that's the good news, but also you're human and it's hard to be human. There's all kinds of things that are just hard. And then you throw, just the business piece on it. And so we know that it's not all like sunshines and rainbows. So at this stage of the game, where would you say you're at, experience wise? And I don't mean experience in the sense of like job experience. I mean just your personal experience on this planet, being a musician, depending on where you want to go. Like where do you find yourself kind of at now, and what's challenging for you?
Oh, I mean, in a lot of ways, I feel more lost than ever, but
Really?
not in a bad way necessarily. I think it's one of those things where, growing up, you have what you think is going to be, your life. Like you're going to go to college, you're going to major in something like biology or something, and you'll go on and, get a really respectable job and make the big bucks. And I think that was kind of the idea growing up. But that didn't happen that way, and I'm really glad that it didn't, because I really love what I do and I enjoy it, and it's very rewarding. That said, it has been a challenging process just in general, because I mean there's really no roadmap for doing something like this, and
No.
even with my musical experience in school and in college, it's completely different, because when you sign up for that, you're going to be in the band regardless. You're going to be there. If you play well enough, you can, be first chair or whatever. You can get solos and things like that. With what I'm doing now in music, there's no guarantee at all. There's no guarantee that you're going to get the booking. There's no guarantee that anyone's going to show up, or there's no guarantee that that the progress that I want to make might ever happen. It really comes down to whether I kind of make it happen myself, or make the right decisions to get there. And so that's been a challenge, just in the sense of just being independent, and trying to learn not just the ropes of life and handling all that, but also trying to pursue something that doesn't have well, just be honest, doesn't have a good probability that it's going to, work out super, super well to where, I can make a living doing it and whatnot. And I guess that comes down to what you define as success. But yeah, it's kind of that idea of knowing that that's a possibility, and that, it might not work out the way I want it to. But I think what I've learned is that you kind of have to be okay with that, with it not going how you want it. You kind of just have to stick to what you know, and what I know is the music, and I know that I love being creative and I love writing songs, and I try to lean on that as much as I can. To that point though, yeah, the business side of it is something that I'm still learning every day, and I imagine I'm going to continue to learn for the rest of my life, which is I think how it should be. But yeah, the
Yeah.
business side has definitely been a challenge. It's definitely something different that I've had to navigate and kind of figure out. But like everything else, I'm learning every day and doing my best at it. But yeah,
Well, I have
it's tough.
more more good news for you. Even, I mean, first of all, you're so not alone, and I'm sure you know that, but I just want to reiterate that
Yeah.
nobody has their shit figured out.
Right.
Nobody, no matter how much they look like they do, nobody has it figured out. Number three, I really truly believe that, and maybe this will speak to you, maybe it won't.
Yeah.
We have these plans, right? And I think in a career like yours, or even with me and a show, or whatever, it doesn't even matter what it is, because you don't have to be doing something in this world for it to apply. But
Right.
we make these plans and we have these these things and these expectations. And I will tell you that expectation is what will crush everything that you want. So
Mhm.
it's really about, for me, can I be happy purely just creating? Like in this moment, I'm talking to Winston Cook. I don't give a shit if anyone sees this. I really don't.
Right.
Like
Mhm.
I just don't care, because this is what it's about right here, is two human beings talking about real stuff and like human stuff. Whatever happens is icing. And I guess the question we all kind of have to ask ourselves, and in a way it's kind of relieving, is can we be happy just in the moment that we're in?
Right.
And just
Yeah.
like, whoo, you mean I get to just like unload the expectation part? God, like that is like a ton that I just get to like unzip and take off.
Yeah.
I don't really care what
Yes. Yeah.
happens. At the
I
same
agree.
time, we also have to live and eat and pay rent, and there are those things, right? And so I think the tricky part, ideally we can get ourselves to a place at least in the middle enough to be like, what we just said, like truly genuinely being happy with the process,
Mhm.
and then also be able to survive.
Balance. Yeah.
Right. And so that I feel like, is kind of where the trickiness hopefully lies, in only that I'd hope that people aren't caring too much about the bullshit part of all this, because the reality is we're all going to die and none of this matters. I mean, that's really the truth, right?
No, yeah, I agree. And I mean,
Right.
yeah, so I mean, yeah, I agree. I totally agree with what you said. I mean, expectations are something that I feel can be very limiting in a lot of ways. I think when you expect something to happen or you have this expectation of what's going to happen, I think in a lot of ways it can kind of box you in and kind
Yeah.
of box you into to what because you're like, well, I can't do that because this is what has to happen, and I can't do this because this is what has to happen. And I've been there many times, pretty much daily. But
Yeah.
I a lot of times I get back to just the idea that, really at the end of the day, like you said, it only matters that you're happy. And for me, at the end of the day, I love my family and everything like that. And those are all super, super important. But at the end of the day, the music is what matters to me, from a career perspective or whatever I want to, from a purpose point of view. That's what I feel my purpose is. And I think, yeah, when you eliminate all the expectations and kind of just stick to what is actually, the passion and what is actually, something that you love, I think it makes it a lot easier. I totally get what you're saying. It's a weight lifted off the shoulders for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the ultimate test is like, can you be genuinely happy standing on a stage in an empty bar,
Right.
just
Yeah.
singing your beautiful heart out and just loving that you get an opportunity to do that?
Yeah. That's
That's
yeah.
probably really hard. I know that that's a superlative sort of situation, but I'm
Right.
sure it happens, and it's like, can we be happy there is the
Right.
ultimate test. And it sounds
Yeah.
like you're dialed in close to that and you understand what it's about for you. Yeah.
Yeah. I yeah, and then that's like that's a mindset that I feel like musicians have to have pretty early on when it comes to because I mean, just to be honest, I mean, there are going to be times for any musician where it's especially starting out where they play, to not a lot of people,
Yeah.
if it's like, on a weeknight, late at night and no one's going to be there, it definitely happens. But yeah, I totally agree that the mindset of just, it doesn't matter who's here as long as I'm, enjoying it and having fun. And honestly, it's kind of good to kind of take that as practice sometimes, in
Yeah.
a way. Sometimes when that happens to me, like it does to, lots of musicians, uh, I kind of just think, well, in a way, the pressure's kind of off, if there's not a ton of people that are going to hear this, I can kind of, I can work things out on stage in a way.
Mhm.
That's thing. I think that like a lot of people that perform, do that, even whether it's a packed house or not. Being on stage is a really great thing, and it's a really rewarding thing, and it's something that I love doing. And it's just the reality of it, knowing that whatever you do on stage is that's it. It's if you miss a note, if whatever you do, that's what's going to happen. And so if you are able to kind of work it out and experiment a little bit and do some things that kind of surprise you on stage, it's a really, really cool thing. And so that's what I try to think of, to your point, that's the mindset I try to have in situations like that. And I've kind of realized that if that's the mindset, it doesn't matter who's there. So, if, when I have a gig where there's a lot of people there and, all eyes are kind of on me, I think it would be natural to get really nervous and be like, oh, well, there's more people here now, so this is a bigger deal. But,
Yeah.
I think what I've learned in just playing and having that mindset of just enjoying what I'm doing, no matter what, no matter who's there, it makes even the bigger gigs even better, because nothing's really changing with my mentality. It's just even more rewarding having more people there.
Yeah. I'll tell you, last night I met a good friend out at Sam's Town Point. Have you been there?
I've heard of it. I haven't been there though.
Okay. Fantastic. Like, Austin staple place to play, tiny little stage, awesome kind of dive-ish situation. 15 dogs running, walking around the bar, like back in the, it's fantastic. It's very, very Austin. Anyway, there last night, it's what's today? Wednesday. So it's a Tuesday night. And there's probably, including the bartenders, maybe 15, maybe 20 people. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a band playing when we walk in. They don't even have a name. They're just like four old kind of white dudes that are just like loving that. They are so happy, and they're just playing. There's stand-up bass, there's drummer, whatever. The drummer's the singer. They honestly don't even have a name. Okay. They're just grooving. They're playing like old, like Duke Ellington. It's fantastic. About 10 minutes, 15 minutes into us getting there, Bruce Robeson walks in, who's like, oh, Austin God, used to, got famous for writing for the Dixie Chicks.
Wow.
He walks in, big dude. And then like 5 minutes later, he walks up on stage, does a few songs, and it's like, there's 20 people in there. That's it. Nobody's whipping out their cameras. Nobody's filming. We're all just there in the moment, watching Bruce work out some things, maybe, I don't know, but just get up there and play. Does he have to play at Sam's Town Point? No, he wanted to play, and he had so much fun. And so that just kind of reinforces what we're talking about, like always having fun and always staying tapped into why you're even doing this. And I think it's really valuable for people to hear this conversation kind of worked out, no matter where you're at in your journey, whether, just whether you've been doing it for 3 years or 30 years, it doesn't really matter,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing too. I mean, you don't usually see that in a lot of other jobs where, people are working the same job until they literally can't anymore. Usually they're trying to get their weight, they're counting the hours until they can retire, but musicians, they love what they do, and it's very clear to see, and they can continue to do it, even when they're at, Willie Nelson's age,
I know.
Yeah, it's a very I mean, yeah, it's just I just think it's one of those things that sometimes it's not even really something you can put words to on why it's so enjoyable to do. It's just something that it's just enjoyable, and I think it's a language that everybody speaks in a lot of ways.
Oh, definitely, to our souls. It's the first place we go, right? When we want to celebrate something or feel something or commemorate something, or, we all, I mean, maybe there's a small exception of weirdos that don't like music. What's next for you? What do you have going on? Is there more music coming? What's kind of cooking for Winston Cook? See what I did there? Not even on purpose.
I like it. That's good. Um, well, I'm cooking up some good things. I got an album coming out, an EP coming out April 28th.
Sweet.
So that'll be out soon. I was really excited about that one to record that one. That one feels like a really big step in my progress so far as a musician. And yeah, it'll be out April 28th on all the streaming platforms and things like that. I have some CDs made as well, so I'll be selling
Sweet.
those.
Old
Yeah,
school. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. No, it was really cool. It was that EP itself was the result of a crowdfunding campaign that I did, which I had never done before, and so it was a really cool thing to kind of crowdfund it and get donations from people who support me, and I was able to put that money towards making the album. And
Awesome.
and the people that donated to get like they get perks and things like they're gonna get CDs and shirts and things sent to
Yeah.
them donating. So it's a really cool thing. But yeah, that's coming up. I have a few other things that I'm working on. You know, I'm trying to work on putting out some content on my social media and just kind of just probably just recording. You know, myself as a solo artist. I kind of want people to see, you know, what the gigs are going to be like. Cause you know, when I record, obviously it's with a full band. And then when I get on stage, it's just different because, you know, it's just me and a guitar, you know, whether it's acoustic or electric,
Mhm.
it doesn't always, it just literally can't sound like, you know, a full band
Sure.
doing it. So, yeah, so
You could do like, a cymbal and a kick drum.
I do actually. I do play that sometimes at gigs. I'll have a kick drum and a tambourine that I kind of like Shaky Graves style.
Yeah.
So I do that. I do that as well at gigs. And that's going to be part of the content I'm going to make as well. I really want to. Again, we were talking about working things out and experimenting and things like that. And that's really what I want to do with the videos that I'm going to start making is really show what I can do musically, not just as a solo performer, but as kind of, just maybe putting different instruments together and kind of doing like maybe like a 4-track sort of song, if I'm playing, drum,
Yeah.
percussion instruments, and then, maybe keyboard along with my guitars and vocal. So that's something I'm looking forward to doing and putting out content like that as well. So
Mhm.
that'll be out on social media pretty soon, probably within the next month. So yeah,
Good.
probably right around the time the album is going to come out, which is kind of what I'm planning on doing, is kind of helping that to put the videos out to kind of ramp up the promotion with the album, and then once the album's out, I'm just gonna promote the hell out of it, get it out.
Yeah.
And then
What's the ultimate goal? What do you want? Like manifest, let's manifest a little bit, like put it out there. What's the ultimate dream for Winston?
honestly, I would just love to be at a place where I'm able to just support myself making music. That's something, it's just that to me seems like, I mean, just keeping it simple, that's basically what I want to do. I like we were talking about, I don't necessarily want to put any expectations on it. I don't want to say that I want to become a millionaire or whatever, and
Sure.
I don't want to put any sort of expectation on it that's too I don't know how to say it. I don't want to say shallow, but when I make music, it comes from a very deep place, and it's something that I really love to do, and it's something that it's definitely my most vulnerable side, which is
Mhm.
interesting considering it's the side that I will put on display in front of people in public, because I'm normally a very kind of shy person in a lot of ways, unless I'm around people that I know really well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's where it comes from, and that's what I'm trying to put out whenever I do albums and recording and putting out content, and that's just the goal that I have in pretty much anything I do musically. So it's tough to say
Mhm.
where I want to go with it, but I hope that at least in I hope in 30 years, 40 years, I'm still playing music, and and I'm happy doing it, and I'm sure that I will be if I'm
Yeah.
still playing, I'm going to be happy. So,
Good. Yeah, me too. I hope you're still doing it too. What's the best way that people can support you? I know you have stuff on Bandcamp, and I love Bandcamp so much because they give more than I think anyone else does, and they do Bandcamp Fridays and all of that. So, but how else? What's the best way for folks to support you these days?
I mean, social media is great. A follow on social media and things like that is always supportive. I'm a big believer in word of mouth as well.
Mm.
As much as I don't actually enjoy social media at all, if I'm being honest, but I know that
Mm.
it's crucial to have. So that is a good way to support me. But a really great way to support would just be to go to shows, and following me on social media will lead you to that direction because I'll post about it. So,
Mm.
but yeah, that's the best way to support for any artist. I think just going to their gigs and supporting live music and just it means more to the artist than I think people realize. Um,
Mm.
as tough as being a musician is, and as vulnerable as it is, it's always nice to kind of see familiar faces in the crowd, and it kind of gives you a little bit of a boost. You know,
Yeah.
no matter who's there, I'll pick someone out in the audience to play to because that kind of helps me. If it's a bartender, so be it. But it's always nice to have people that I know in the crowd, and my family goes to all my gigs, so they're always super supportive. So in a
Oh,
way, I guess people just got to be like my family, and it'll work out. It's the best way
yeah.
to do
Yeah, just multiply.
it.
So you have music, you have an EP that's coming out. Talk a little bit about that process of recording that. Where did you record and how did you choose those songs? And is there an overall theme in this collection?
Yeah, so I recorded it at Edgewater Studios, which is in Sugarland, Texas. So it's in the Houston area.
Nice.
And Edgewater they're what helped me do the crowdfunding as well for the album. So that's where I recorded it. They had some really great musicians in there. It's a great studio, and they're just great at what they do. And a lot of when I was talking about how I felt like this is really a step up, I didn't mean just for me lyrically, musically, on a songwriter perspective, but it was a step up in recording quality as well. Working with the guys at Edgewater. Um, but the overall theme of the album is kind of hard to place. The title of it's called "The City Down Below,"
Mm.
and I think for one, that's one of the lyrics in the song, which I thought was really cool. I love making like titles the just
Yeah.
one lyric in a song.
Yeah.
It's a lyric in one of the songs, but I think as I was putting the album together and deciding which songs I wanted to do, which songs would surround the song that has the title in it, "The City Down Below." So in looking at that, I realized that a lot of those songs I chose, and a lot of the songs I write in general are usually they're usually more fictional than truth.
Mm.
Um, I try to kind of create. I love stories and things like that. And so I want to kind of create a story, and not necessarily a story about myself. I like to kind of create characters, and they're kind of live in their own little world, and I write about a certain story that's taking place in that world that I've created, and but through that, obviously, as a writer, there's bits of truth that go back to me, but it's never a straight direct line, and that's what I love about writing songs. And so in a way, as I was deciding which songs I was going to put on there, um, the city down below kind of took a new meaning, and I kind of saw it as kind of the city down below being this little world where I've created these, fictional
Mhm.
stories, and that's kind of, and as me as the writer, I'm kind of, if you're thinking about, the songs themselves, I'm writing them on a piece of paper, and I'm above it, and I'm writing out, kind of the city down below, and it's below me in a way, and so
That's cool.
and it wasn't, obviously that wasn't planned at all. It was kind of it was more of like a justification on why I wanted to call it that. But yeah,
Sure.
it was it was definitely it was just a similarity I saw with all the songs. Two of them are singles that I've already put out: "The Lights in the Night" and "Celine."
Ah, I
And
love Celine. I mean, I love them all, but Celine really stood out for me.
yeah, no, it was a fun one, and totally fictional too. like
I
I
was gonna
said.
say, who's Celine?
Yeah, lots of people have asked that. I don't even know Celine, to be honest with you. I'm a big Celine Dion fan, so maybe that's where it
Sure.
came from. But
There you go.
but yeah, Celine is not real. But it was, yeah. I mean, it was one of those things where I kind of built up this story, and that was song was written very quickly. It was one of those songs that it kind of just, I kind of just spat out onto the page, and that it became, you know, Celine. And so that's going to be on the album. The Lights in the Night will be on there as well. And that one is, again, it's kind of like just a very fantastical sort of story, and with no real no real truth to it, that I say outwardly. It's one of those things where I try to kind of keep it to myself, and I try to hide it within the between the lines,
Yeah.
so
Sneaky.
yeah, so those two will be on there, and then I have a song called Argentina, which will be on there. It's about my time studying abroad, and I went to Argentina for a summer and try to,
Wow.
get that Spanish 3 and 4 credits for
Nice.
college. So, but that was, I mean, that was a really awesome time as well, and the big the big theme with that one was really just getting to know my host family, because I lived with a host family there, and it was two brothers. They're around my same age, and there's two brothers and a single mom, and they had a dog, and they were, for a summer, they were my family. They were
Oh.
super super nice, super welcoming. We hung out. I went out with the brothers all the time. And the mom was super super sweet, and so a lot of that was, and that story as well. That Argentina is probably the most real story that I've written about so far, because not only is it talking about being there and kind of enjoying the people, and and enjoying my entire time there, but it was the first time I had really been fully independent, away from home completely in a different country. And it
Yeah.
coincidentally, I was about I think I was 20, 19 or 20. So that was when I really started learning to play guitar and sing. So it was kind of, in a way, Argentina was kind of the beginning of
Hmm.
this journey. So and it's one of my favorite songs that I've written, and so it definitely was going to be on the album for sure. And then there are two more. One's called Roll the Thunder, which is just a good old rock song.
Nice.
It's been in the set list for probably like 2 years, and I just never recorded it. And I was like, I might as well record it, and it's a good one. And then the album ends with a stripped down version of a song called If I Stay, and that one's a very kind of emotional, vulnerable. That one has a lot of truth to it as well. And that was a fun one to make, because it was really just me and a guitar and a couple strings, a couple string instruments. So that was a really cool one to make, and that's the music I love to listen to. More often than not, I'm listening to softer acoustic type music with some sort of orchestral component to them, and so that's kind of the direction I want to go. I think on my next project is making it more orchestral and making it a little bit more like kind of a full ensemble type of,
Hmm.
from a orchestra type of perspective, lots of strings and things like that.
Yeah, you should listen to my friend Ray Prim. Do you know Ray Prim? I've had him on. You need to check him out. He has that vibe in how he plays, and one of the things I love about him is like he could very well just stand there on his own and make you cry. He's so good, but he
Yep.
chooses to surround himself with these freaking stars, and there's like two violinists and this amazing singer. And so it's this really full, kind of has that kind of orchestral feel
Mhm.
to his songs. So
Yeah.
I love going to see him play. Because he has all these people on stage and all these different instruments, and he makes it look so standard and so easy. Like, yeah, this is how I roll. you know, this is
That's
what
great.
music should sound like, entertain
Yeah.
you. It's
Yeah. No,
really
I,
cool.
and I imagine it just elevates the whole thing, just having great
Oh,
right next
like,
to
yeah, like literally give you chills. You know how to violin, just like
Oh
it,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, you get it. So
Yeah.
I highly, highly vote for that to like, yeah, to try
Yeah.
that.
I will definitely do it. Yeah, it's a yeah, you're right. There is something about, just a string section coming in, which is it really literally pulls at your heartstrings, no pun intended.
Yes, I
But it
know.
really does.
I know. It's so great. It's so great.
Yep.
Well, Winston, my goodness, I'm so happy to get to know you, and I really appreciate you spending some time kind of really truly letting us into, this experience that you and so many other people are doing for yourselves, but also giving to us and letting us be a part of it, not only in interviews like this, but just to listen to your music and get to share in the outcome of it all is just, I know it happens every day and we click one button in our cars and we get to listen to music. And I feel like I just never want to take that for granted ever, you know? So I'm really, really appreciative for you just to share where you're at. And as much as we talked about things that are hard, and I think it's important to talk about this, it's also fun. And I know you're having fun and you love it. And so I'm so happy there's that other side of it for you too. And I wish you, I will always be cheering for you and rooting for you. And, you know, I hope in 50 years you're still doing it.
Yeah, well, it's been my pleasure. And yeah, thank you for the questions too. Really great questions.
Oh, you're welcome.
I really appreciate it. It's very intuitive, and it's really nice to kind of really talk about where my head is at with music, you know, on such a deep level that I don't usually get to do. It's not information I volunteer at my shows usually because no one asks, you know. So, but I appreciate it. So thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for your honesty and your willingness to kind of tell the truth and not keep it surfacey. Like I think it's important for people to hear because it makes us feel like I feel I identify with things that you said, even though I'm not doing the things you're doing. You know, sometimes I feel lost. Sometimes I feel like, you know, whatever. I mean, we all do. So I think it's really important and I appreciate it. Well, better get your booty out to Austin so I can see you play.
Yeah, I'll be at the O4 Center on May 12th.
I'm writing that down. May 12th. This is awesome. It's a
Very
great
excited.
place. Yeah.
It's my first time playing there, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Woo-hoo. I love it. Okay, well, we're going to push that and I'm definitely going to try to go to that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that does it for another, it goes by so fast, another episode of the Austin Downbeat. Thank you to Winston Cook for stopping by and hanging out with us. We will see you next time. Bye.